During the month of Elul, in the past few years, I've provided a message. Sometimes it was a daily message, although that was quite exhausting. And sometimes it was a 3 times a week message. Sometimes it was all me, and sometimes I was helped by others. And as we start the month of Elul, we bring back that custom. And I'm going to be sharing a message 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to help us get into the preparation of before Rosh Hashanah. Elul is a month in which we prepare, we return, we start our process of teshuvah, of return. And so I will share readings by Alden Solovy from his extraordinary book, Enter These Gates. I interviewed Alden on my podcast a while ago, and you can hear that, and I believe I'm going to be interviewing him again soon. Alden is a wonderful poet, and his poetry is really very moving during the month of Elul. Because I also blow the shofar, and I don't have my shofar with me, I'm going to use the shofar that comes from the temple. I'm going to blow the shofar first, which is not what I normally do, just to make sure I get it right. Our blessing is Lishmoa Kol Shofar. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Asher Kedishanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Lishmoa Kol Shofar. Our reading from Enter These Gates, Meditations for the Days of Awe. This one is called The Path to God. The path to God is not invisible, but it is not so clear either, not simple to find. The path to God begins in your heart and your breath, in the space where one heartbeat begins and another ends. The place where the out-breath yields to the in-breath, and the in-breath yields to the out-breath. The path to God is the journey of your life. The path to God is the way home. I find this a very powerful, very moving reading for the start of the month of Elul. I think for me, I chose this because at the very beginning, it might be difficult to ascertain the path, to work out where do we want to go exactly. What is that path of teshuvah? And it's not invisible, there is a route. Part of that route can be a cheshbon hanefesh, an accounting of the soul, an honest appraisal of what is right in our life and what it isn't. And during the month of Elul, people often stop and pause and reflect on what part of themselves do they need to change. And they may not know yet, that path may not be clear, but it's not totally invisible. It starts with that process of self-reflection. And I really love how Alden writes, the path to God begins in your heart and your breath. It's not some mapped out route, it's something internal, something within. Every journey of teshuvah is an individual journey. And I'm very moved by the way that he says that the path to God is in the space where one heartbeat begins and another ends. It's not in the point of action, not in the beat itself, it's in that space in between. As he adds, the place, it's in the place where the out-breath yields to the in-breath, and the in-breath yields to the out-breath. And for me, that talks of potentiality. Both the heartbeat and the breath. These are rhythms of our body, rhythms that happen naturally. And I think this is asking us, the way I read this is asking us to not take the natural as a given, to see it as laden with potentiality, Because for all of us, at some point, that natural process will end. And so appreciating it, exploring it, living it, loving it, becomes very important in the moment. And so I think that adds to the sense of appreciation that I think is also essential for teshuvah. It's essential for us to not just say what is bad about ourselves or what needs changing in ourselves, but also what we're thankful for. Because if we're able to say at the month of Elul what we're thankful for, what we enjoy in our lives, what moves us, then that also helps lay out a path of what we want more in our life. So we think about how we might have that more in our life, what we need to change. And I'm not talking about selfish things necessarily, although it is important during the month of Elul to be a little bit selfish, to work out what it is that we need, but then to also think about what do others need as well. Being selfish doesn't have to be all-consuming, doesn't have to be that we only think about ourselves. That obviously would be absurd during the month of Elul. But I think being able to ask ourselves what do we need and what do others need is the start of that journey of Elul. It's not invisible, it's not so clear either, it's not so simple to find, but it is something with pause and with reflection that we are able to find.